a merchant caravan winds through the tradeway, guards watching for bandits. The bandits work for the same organization that hired the guards. The toll collectors at the next city gate, also on the payroll. The loan shark who financed the caravan, a ranking member. Welcome to the Zhentarim, where every threat doubles as an opportunity. The Zhentarim didn't become one of Faerun's most feared organizations by accident. While adventurers chase dragons and wizards duel in the streets, the Black Network quietly buys the inn where the heroes sleep, poisons the king's advisor, corners the market on healing potions right before a war breaks out. True power doesn't announce itself. It infiltrates, waits, strikes only when victory is certain. In 1261 DR, a wizard named Manshoun founded the Zhentarim in Zhentil Keep. Not the most powerful mage in Faerun, not even close. Manshoun possessed something more dangerous than raw magical might, ambition tempered by patience. Other archmages sought glory through spectacular displays of power. Manshoun recognized that real control came from networks, not fireballs. Zhentil Keep, a fortress city on the northern shore of the Moonsea, sat at a crucial trade nexus. Goods flowing between the Dalelands, the Moonsea region, and lands beyond had to pass through its shadow. Control the trade routes, Manshoun reasoned, and you control everything. The name Zentarum comes from this origin, though the organization would eventually transcend its birthplace. Manshoun wasn't working alone. In 1263 DR, he partnered with Fzoul Chembryl, High Priest of Bane. This alliance between arcane and divine power would define the Zhentarim for centuries. Bane, the god of tyranny, perfectly complemented the organization's goals. Manshoun provided magical might and strategic cunning. Fzoul offered religious fervor and the ability to frame conquest as holy work. Most evil organizations burn bright and fast, drawing too much attention, making too many enemies. The Zhentarim built slowly. Cities weren't conquered with armies. They were bought with gold, one official at a time. Rival merchant companies? The organization undercut them and sabotaged them, bought them out when bankruptcy loomed. Early paranoia shaped Manshoun's approach. He allied with the beholder Zhentil, using the creature's influence to ensure the Banite priests swore fealty to Manshoun personally. Zhentil's lair in Tyranny became an outpost for Zhentalar troops. The arrangement satisfied everyone. Manshoun gained control, Fzoul got power over the priesthood. Zhentil received protection and resources. By the early 1300s DR, the Zhentarim had spread throughout the Moonsea region. Their black and yellow banners flew over Zhentil Keep, but their influence reached further. In Mulmaster, Hillsfar, and Flan, the organization operated through proxies. A seemingly independent trading company here, a mercenary band there, a moneylender in the next city, all connected, all feeding intelligence and gold back to Zhentil Keep. In 1332 DR, Manshoun seized Darkhope from the Lich Queen Virala, extending control into the western heartlands. The fortress became a major stronghold under the command of Semimon, Manshoun's student. 4 years later, in 1336 DR, they invaded Tyranny. Success followed success. They placed puppet rulers in Daggerdale and Shadowdale, giving Manshoun effective control over vast territories. The Zhentarim's appetite for power remained unsatisfied. In 1355 DR, they executed one of their most audacious betrayals. The Citadel of the Raven, a chain of fortresses straddling the Dragonspine Mountains north of the Moonsea, had been jointly garrisoned by multiple Moonsea cities since 1276 DR. Manshoun engineered a scheme where Zhentil Keep's garrison would defend against an approaching orc horde alongside their allies. When the orcs attacked, the Zhentalar turned on the other garrisons instead, slaughtering the non-Zhent troops and seizing complete control of the strategic fortress. The few survivors who escaped would form the Knights of the North, nursing their hatred of the Zhentarim for decades to come. In 1358 DR, everything changed. The gods themselves fell to Toril as mortals in an event known as the Time of Troubles. Lord Ao, Overgod of the Realms, had cast down the Pantheon after Bane and Merkel stole the Tablets of Fate. For mortals, this meant wild magic, unanswered prayers, and chaos. For the Zhentarim, it meant their divine patron walked among them. Bane's avatar arrived at Zhentil Keep in a rain of fire, landing directly on the Black Altar in what witnesses called the Arrival. The god ordered his priests to serve alongside Manshoon's forces in attacking Shadowdale. The assault failed. Worse, Bane died in the attempt, killed by the god Torm near Tantris on the 13th of Alessius. Torm also fell in that battle, consumed by Bane's dying breath. Cyric the Mortal, a thief and assassin from Zhentil Keep itself, had killed the god Baal during the time of troubles. When the crisis ended, Cyric ascended to godhood, absorbing the portfolios of Bane, Baal, and Merkel. The new god of strife, murder, and the dead now claimed dominion over everything Bane had ruled. The Zentarum fractured along religious lines. Many Banite priests converted to Cyricism, seeing their new god as Bane's rightful successor. Others refused, maintaining faith in their dead patron or converting to worship Iactu Vim, Bane's half-demon son. Fzoul Chembryl walked a dangerous line, maintaining his Banite faith while appearing to accommodate the Cyricists. Manshoun trusted none of them. For 3 years an uneasy peace held. Cyric granted spells even to the remaining Banites, perhaps amused by their stubborn loyalty to a dead god. Zhentil Keep became the seat of Cyric's power. His priests grew influential, taking positions throughout the organization. Where Bane had valued order and tyranny, Cyric thrived on chaos, deception, and betrayal. The change in divine patron began warping the Zhentarum's culture. On Marbinoth 30, 1361 DR, Cyric's patience ended. Zeno Mirrormane, High Priest of Cyric in Zhentil Keep, launched the Banedeath. Over the following 10 days, Cyric's priests hunted down every remaining Banite in the city. They destroyed temples, defaced shrines, and murdered priests. Lay worshippers were dragged from homes and shops, given one choice: convert or die. Buildings burned, blood ran in the streets. Cyric empowered more than 20 of his priests with greater divine might, destroying their mortal forms and fires of the Black Sun to fuel their holy purge. The survivors went underground, literally, conducting secret services in the sewers beneath the foreign quarter. Some converted to Vimism instead of Cyricism, betting that Bane's offspring might one day restore the faith. Only Fzoul Chembryl remained untouched, protected by what Mirrormane called his special relationship with Cyric. Manshoun watched the Banedeath with cold calculation. He'd never trusted Fzoul completely, but he trusted Cyric's mad priests even less. While publicly supporting the Purge, Manshoun began quietly relocating resources from Zhentil Keep to the Citadel of the Raven in the Moonsea North. Personnel, supplies, treasure, magical items, all shifted gradually to the fortress straddling the Dragonspine Mountains. The process took years, completed by 1366 DR. When Zhentil Keep eventually fell, the Zhentarum's true power base would remain intact. The Cyricist years brought chaos. Where Bane had imposed order through terror, Cyric's followers reveled in unpredictability. Trade networks became unreliable, alliances shifted on whims. Rivals never knew if they were negotiating with pragmatic merchants or mad zealots. The Zentarum remained powerful but increasingly erratic, a reflection of their patron deity's fractured mind. On Nidal 27, 1368 DR, Fzoul Chembryl made his move. He stood before the people of Zhentil Keep and read aloud from The True Life of Cyric, a book that revealed the god's betrayals and madness in his own words. When citizens heard how Cyric had manipulated them, outrage spread through the city. Zeno Mirrormane tried to silence Fzoul, but the god mask sent divine fire that consumed the high priest where he stood. The flames spread to Cyric's temple, reducing it to ash. Cyric's response was immediate and terrible. Over the next 3 days, he summoned an army of frost giants, white dragons, gnolls, and other creatures. They besieged Zhentil Keep, their assault devastating the northern half of the city. Buildings collapsed, fires raged unchecked. More than 40,000 people died. The Zhentil garrison, some 1,500 soldiers including many high-ranking officers, fled south along with the surviving civilians. Fzoul escaped to Teshwave. In the aftermath, a young soldier named Scyllua Darkhope distinguished herself. Born in the Daleland, she'd been taken to Zhentil Keep as a slave while still a child. Despite her circumstances, she devoted herself to Tyr, becoming a paladin while serving in the city's army. During the siege, Scyllua proved herself in combat again and again, rising through the ranks. By the time the destruction ended, she was recognized as one of the city's champions and a vocal critic of the corruption that had brought this disaster. Scyllua hunted those responsible for Zhentil Keep's suffering. In the winter of 1370 DR, she cornered Lord Orgoth, a nobleman she blamed for much of the city's evil. Orgoth surrendered to her, offering to make amends for his crimes. Scyllua listened. That was her mistake. Orgoth was no human lord, but a pit fiend of terrible power, and his honeyed words began her fall from grace. Over the following months, Orgoth corrupted Scyllua, leading her deeper into darkness until she renounced Tyr and became a blackguard devoted to Bane. His consort Desmonda, an Erinyes in disguise, grew jealous and whispered truths about Orgoth's manipulations. Scyllua turned on her tempter and destroyed him. Then Fzoul Chembryl approached her, and the woman who had fought to save Zhentil Keep from the Zentarum willingly joined their ranks. While Zhentil Keep smoldered and Scyllua fell, the Divine Realms witnessed a miracle. In 1372 DR, Bane returned from death. His half-demon son Yoctu Vim, who had gathered followers during the intervening years, burst into flames. From that divine pyre, Bane emerged reborn, reclaiming his place as the Black Lord of Tyranny. Fzoul Chembryl became chosen of Bane, the god's mortal hand in the world. The Zentarum purged their remaining serest elements. Those who refused to convert to Bane's renewed faith met the same fate that the Baneites had suffered a decade earlier. The organization returned fully to worship of Tyranny, but under Fzoul's leadership rather than Manshoon's. Fzoul proved more aggressive than his predecessors. He attacked Mithranor, recently returned from centuries of absence. He temporarily seized control of Shadowdale. His paranoia grew with this power. Seeking advantage against potential rivals, he made a catastrophic decision. Allying with the Farum, monstrous creatures from deep beneath the earth. The alliance would have consequences Fzoul couldn't foresee. The Shadowvar, Netherese returned from millennia in the Plane of Shadow, learned of the Farum alliance and were enraged. The Farum had been ancient enemies of the Netheril. Any organization working with them was an enemy of the returned empire. The Shadowvar marked the Zentarum for destruction. The architecture of control. Understanding the Zentarum requires understanding how they structure power. This isn't some thieves' guild with a guildmaster and lieutenants. The organization operates like a dark mirror of a modern corporation, complete with regional divisions, specialized departments, carefully maintained deniability between levels. Originally, the Lords of Zhentil Keep sat at the top. Manshoun dominated this council through sheer force of personality. Fzoul Chembryl held equal rank through his position as Bane's high priest. They formed an uneasy duopoly, each checking the other's ambitions, neither trusting the other completely. Below the lords came the Zentarum soldiers, elite warriors who served as enforcers, bodyguards, military commanders. These weren't common thugs. Zentarum soldiers underwent rigorous training and proved their loyalty through years of service. Many could match professional soldiers from any nation's army. Some possessed magical abilities or specialized skills in assassination. The soldiers worked alongside the Zentarum Sky Mages, flying wizards mounted on hippogriffs. The Sky Mages served as rapid response forces, able to project power across vast distances. When a Zentarum caravan came under attack, Sky Mages might appear within the hour, raining fire on the ambushers. The true genius of Zentarum structure lay in their civilian operations. The organization maintained numerous front organizations. Trading costers moved goods along established routes, never officially connected to the Zentarum. Mercenary companies hired themselves out to cities, faithfully serving contracts while gathering intelligence. Money-lending operations provided legitimate services while also serving as recruitment centers. The compartmentalization protected the organization. Authorities might shut down a trading coster for smuggling, but they couldn't connect it to the wider network without extensive investigation. When Zentarum mercenaries committed atrocities, the organization could claim the mercenaries acted independently. Destroy one cell and 10 others continued operating. The Zentarum also pioneered franchising. Local criminals, merchants, or minor nobles could affiliate without becoming full members. They paid tribute in gold or information, received protection and access to Zhentarim resources, maintained operational independence. This allowed rapid expansion without the overhead of directly managing every operation. The Zentarum operate according to a simple principle: power respects only power, mercy is weakness, and hesitation is failure. A Zentarum merchant doesn't negotiate fair deals. They identify what their counterpart needs most desperately and exploit it. A Zentarum spy doesn't gather information for its own sake. They collect leverage, finding secrets that can destroy careers or end lives. Violence is a tool, nothing more. The Zentarum don't hesitate to use it, but they don't default to it either. A well-placed bribe accomplishes more than an assassination. When violence serves their purposes, the organization applies it with surgical precision. They don't send armies to conquer cities. They send a handful of agents to eliminate key figures, then watch as the power vacuum tears the city apart. Consider their approach to competition. When a rival trading company threatens Zentarum profits, the organization doesn't immediately resort to hired killers. First, they undercut prices, taking losses to drive the rival towards bankruptcy. They spread rumors about poor quality goods. They bribe customs officials to delay rival shipments while their own cargo flows freely. They offer loans to the struggling company at predatory rates. Only when these methods fail do the knives come out. A rival merchant might die in what appears to be a random robbery. Warehouse fires destroy inventory at suspiciously convenient times. Shipments disappear in transit, blamed on bandits who are never caught. By the time the rival company collapses, it looks like business failure, not orchestrated destruction. The organization understands the value of legitimate business. Many Zentarum operations make real profits through actual trade. They move grain, wine, textiles across the realms, providing genuine services. The profit funds their less savory activities. The legitimate business provides cover for smuggling. The trade networks create dependencies. Cities that rely on Zentarum goods and can't afford to antagonize them. Recruitment follows careful patterns. The Zentarum target ambitious merchants who chafe at regulations, skilled warriors looking for better pay, wizards seeking rare components or forbidden knowledge, thieves who want to graduate from street crime to organized operations. They offer better wages than honest work, access to magical items, protection from the law, and protection from rival criminals. Membership comes with ironclad rules. Betray the Zentarum and death is the kindest outcome you can hope for. The organization has long memories. Former members who turned informant have been killed years later in distant cities. This reputation for ruthlessness serves as its own deterrent. Very few members even consider betrayal when they know the inevitable consequence. The Manshoon Wars. For decades, Manshoun ruled the Zentarum through magical might, strategic brilliance, paranoia that would make lesser men insane. Paranoia, while useful, can be self-destructive. Manshoun trusted no one completely. He prepared contingencies for every possible betrayal. He created magical clones of himself, insurance against assassination. In doing so, he planted the seeds of the organization's greatest crisis. In 1370 DR, Fzoul Chembryl finally made his move. The High Priest of Bane had tolerated sharing power with Manshoun for over a century. Gods are patient, and their servants learn to be the same. Working with allies including Lord Orgoth and using magic provided by Bane himself, Fzoul orchestrated Manshoun's assassination. The Archmage died in Zhentil Keep, victim of a trap that combined divine and arcane power. Fzoul seized control, believing he had eliminated his rival. He was half right. Manshoun was dead. The problem was that multiple Manshouns remained very much alive. The clones Manshoun had created as insurance against death suddenly activated. Each believed itself to be the real Manshoun. Each had access to the original's memories, magical knowledge, and ambitions. Each claimed leadership. Each absolutely refused to share power with the others. The Manshoon Wars had begun. The conflict tore the Zentarum apart. Different factions backed different Manshouns or threw their support to Fzoul, or tried to remain neutral and ended up caught in the crossfire. Zentarum soldiers fought Zentarum soldiers. Trading operations competed with other Zentarum trading operations. Safe houses became war zones as different claimants to Manshoun's legacy hunted each other. One particularly infamous Manshoun clone established himself in Waterdeep, infiltrating the City of Splendors before being exposed. Another ruled from the ruins of Zhentil Keep after the city's partial destruction. Yet another operated from Darkhope in the far hills. They fought not just with magic and assassins, but with politics and economics, each trying to prove they were the true heir by demonstrating superior strategic skill. The wars lasted for years, weakening the entire organization. Enemies of the Zentarum saw opportunity and struck. The Harpers, the Red Wizards of Thay, various national governments all exploited this internal strife. Safe houses were exposed, trade routes were severed, high-ranking members defected or died. By the time the various Manshoons finally wore each other down, the Zentarum had lost much of their former dominance. Fzoul emerged from the chaos still in control, though ruling a diminished organization. The Manshoon Wars demonstrated both strength and fragility. The decentralized structure meant survival when a more hierarchical group might have collapsed. That same decentralization allowed the chaos to spread, and rebuilding trust between factions proved nearly impossible when everyone remembered fighting each other. In 1383 DR, the Zentarum suffered their most devastating blow. The Shadowvar, Netherese returned from millennia of exile, discovered the Zentarum had allied with the Farum. In retaliation, the floating city of Thar descended upon Zhentil Keep and the Citadel of the Raven, razing both strongholds during what became known as the Shadowbane War. The destruction was absolute. Zhentil Keep, the symbolic and practical heart of the Zentarum for over a century, ceased to exist. Thousands of members died, including many high-ranking leaders. Central records, treasure vaults, magical repositories were buried under tons of rubble and cursed earth. Fzoul Chembryl himself fell during this catastrophe. 2 years later, in 1385 DR, the Spell Plague struck. Cyric and Shar murdered Mistra, and wild magic rippled across Faerun. For an organization already reeling from the loss of their headquarters, the Spell Plague was catastrophic. Zentarum wizards died or went mad. Magical safe houses collapsed or became death traps. Communication networks that had spanned the continent went silent. Lesser organizations would have died. The Zentarum transformed. Without a central headquarters or unifying leadership, individual cells began operating independently. Some maintained the old ways, pursuing power through intimidation. Others adapted. With the old guard dead and traditional methods proving ineffective in the post-Spell Plague world, younger members experimented with new approaches. During this period of chaos, the Paragast assumed command of Darkhope and became a major figure in reshaping the organization. Under his leadership in the 1400s DR, the Zentarum transitioned from a conquering force into something more subtle, a mercenary army that served others while quietly pursuing its own agenda. By the 1480s DR, the Zentarum that emerged from the chaos bore only passing resemblance to Manshoon's original vision. The religious connection to Bane had weakened after Fzoul's death. The obsessive focus on the Moonsea region gave way to a distributed model spanning the entire Sword Coast. Most significantly, the organization's philosophy had evolved. The modern Zentarum still values power above all else, but they've become more pragmatic about acquiring it. When the old organization ruled through fear, the new version prefers to rule through dependency. They still use violence when necessary, but they've learned that making people need you is more reliable than making them fear you. This evolution wasn't planned or coordinated. It emerged organically as different cells adapted to local conditions. A Zentarum operation in Waterdeep learned to work within the city's complex political landscape. Agents in Baldur's Gate discovered that bribing the Flaming Fist worked better than fighting them. Cells in small towns found they could control entire regions through economic leverage without anyone realizing the Zentarum were involved. The organization began recruiting differently too. Where the old Zentarum looked for ambitious villains, the new network targeted anyone who wanted more than the world currently offered them. Merchants tired of guild regulations, warriors frustrated by peacetime, wizards hungry for rare knowledge. Even good aligned individuals sometimes find themselves working for the Zentarum when their goals align. Today's Zentarum operates primarily along the Sword Coast, with significant presence in Waterdeep, Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter, and dozens of smaller settlements. They've abandoned Zhentil Keep, instead operating from multiple regional bases. This distributed structure makes them harder to fight and harder to kill. Destroy their operations in one city and the others continue unaffected. The modern rank structure reflects this decentralized approach. New recruits start as fangs, proving their worth through small tasks. Success and renown leads to advancement through the ranks of Wolf, Viper, Ardragon, and ultimately Dreadlord. Each rank brings greater responsibility, access to resources, and autonomy. The system rewards results, not birthright or connections. Leadership varies by region. In Waterdeep, a group of former adventurers called the Doom Raiders established the Zentarum presence in the late 1480s DR. These 5 individuals, Davil Starsong, Istrid Horn, Schemo Weirdbottle, Tashlin Yafira, and Ziraj the Hunter earned their reputation raiding Lich Lairs before joining. They brought professionalism and a more legitimate public face to Zentarum operations in the city. The modern Zentarum runs diverse operations. Their trading companies move goods through the realms. They control significant portions of the mercenary market, with soldiers available for hire across the Sword Coast. They operate protection rackets, though they market these as a legitimate security service. They move contraband ranging from minor smuggling to trafficking in magical items. Intelligence gathering remains a core competency. The organization maintains extensive spy networks, collecting information on rivals, potential recruits, anyone who might threaten their interests. Blackmail material keeps cooperative contacts in line. Business intelligence provides advantage in trade negotiations. Political intelligence allows them to predict and manipulate events. The organization has cultivated a reputation for reliability. Modern Zentarum complete the contracts that they accept. They honor agreements, at least technically. This isn't altruism but pragmatism. A reputation for trustworthiness opens doors that pure intimidation closes. When a merchant needs a loan, they might choose the Zentarum over a bank if they know the network keeps its word, even if the terms are harsh. The Zentarum remain ruthless when crossed. A merchant who can't pay back a loan might get extended terms, but a merchant who tries to cheat them will find themselves ruined, their business destroyed, possibly dead. The message is clear. Work with us and prosper, work against us and suffer. A typical Zentarum operation in a medium-sized city runs from a legitimate business, an upscale tavern or trading company office. Higher-ranked members handle specialized functions like intelligence gathering, muscle work, financial operations, and more. Lower-ranked fangs provide ground-level support, watching for opportunities and threats. The operation maintains relationships with corrupt guards, bot officials, and cooperative criminals from other organizations. The cell generates profit through multiple streams. They loan money at interest rates that would make a dwarf banker blush. They offer protection services to local merchants who pay monthly fees to ensure their businesses remain safe from the very people they're paying. They fence stolen goods, taking a cut from local thieves while ensuring nothing stolen comes back to them. They run smuggling operations, moving contraband past customs officials who look the other way. They sell information to anyone willing to pay. When the cell needs to eliminate a problem, they have options. Direct violence is available but usually kept in reserve. First, they try economic pressure, buy out the problem's business partners, call in debts, spread rumors that damage reputations, bribe officials to create legal problems, arrange for shipments to be delayed or lost, create so many small difficulties that the target either backs down or leaves town. If economic pressure fails, they escalate to intimidation, anonymous threats, vandalized property, friends or family receiving scary but non-lethal messages. The goal is making the target feel hunted without actually crossing into outright violence that might attract official attention. Most people crack under this pressure, especially when it becomes clear the Zentarum can reach them anywhere. Violence is the last resort, but when employed it's decisive. The organization doesn't send street thugs to rough someone up. They send professionals who kill quickly and cleanly, arranging the scene to look like robbery or an accident. Bodies that need to disappear stay disappeared. Witnesses who might talk find themselves suddenly unable to remember key details, either through magical influence or bribery. The Zentarum excel at long-term infiltration. They identify promising young people in key positions and cultivate them over years. A junior clerk in the city guard might receive gifts, loans, and help with personal problems, all seemingly from a friend with no ulterior motives. Years later, when that clerk has risen to captain, the organization calls in those favors. By then, the target is so deeply compromised that refusing is impossible. They use similar tactics with entire organizations. The Zhentarim might help a struggling mercenary company, providing equipment and lucrative contracts. The company prospers, growing loyal to their benefactors, gradually becoming an asset without ever officially joining. This approach has allowed the organization to control significant military power without maintaining large standing forces. Allies and enemies. The Zentarum view the Harpers as their primary adversaries, a stance dating back centuries. When the Zentarum seek to accumulate and exercise power, the Harpers work to prevent any single group from becoming too powerful. This fundamental opposition means the two organizations constantly clash, with Harpers working to expose and undermine Zentarum operations while the organization hunts Harper agents. The conflict plays out through proxies. A Harper might support a rival merchant company competing with the Zentarum front. The organization might provide information to authorities about a Harper safe house. Neither side wants open war, which would attract too much official attention, so they wage endless shadow conflicts. The Lord's Alliance presents more complicated dynamics. This coalition of cities along the Sword Coast values stability and trade, goals that sometimes align with the Zentarum interests. Cities in the Alliance want protected trade routes and economic prosperity. The Zentarum can provide both for a price. The Alliance also opposes criminal activity, bringing them into conflict with less savory operations. The result is an uneasy relationship where Alliance cities might employ Zentarum mercenaries while simultaneously trying to stamp out Zentarum smuggling. The Red Wizards of Thay occupy a special place in Zentarum thinking. The two organizations competed for control of the Moonsea region for decades, fighting a cold war that occasionally turned hot. Both sought to dominate trade through magical power. Both valued results over ethics. The rivalry produced mutual respect alongside genuine hatred. Modern Zentarum still view the Red Wizards with suspicion. Criminal organizations present both opportunity and threat. The Zentarum have absorbed numerous thieves' guilds over the years, sometimes through conquest but often through offering better resources. Small-time criminals often jump at the chance to join, gaining access to fences, safe houses, and magical items, and the security of working for a powerful organization. Some criminal groups resist, wanting to maintain independence, leading to turf wars that can turn bloody. The Zhentarum's relationship with evil deities has evolved over time. The original connection to Bane defined the organization's culture for decades. Even after Bane's death during the Time of Troubles and subsequent resurrection, that connection weakened as the organization decentralized. Modern Zentarum include worshippers of many deities, from Joaquin for the merchants to Mask for the thieves to no deity at all for the pragmatists. Adventurers occupy an interesting niche in Zentarum strategy. The organization has learned that powerful adventurers make dangerous enemies but useful tools. They frequently hire adventuring parties for tasks that require deniability. A group of heroes won't question a job to clear monsters from a trade route, not realizing they're working for the Zentarum until far too late. Some adventurers even join, attracted by promises of magic items, gold, and interesting work. Notable members and leaders. Beyond the founders, numerous individuals have shaped the Zentarum's history. Scyllua Darkhope, the fallen paladin who became a blackguard of Bane, commanded forces during several major campaigns. She demonstrated tactical brilliance that earned respect even from enemies, leading from the front because she believed soldiers fought harder for commanders who shared their risks. This made her beloved by her troops and feared by opponents, who knew she wouldn't hesitate to commit her forces decisively. She was eventually killed in 1375 DR during the Shadowbane Rebellion. The Paragost, an ancient undead wizard, commanded Darkhope for years and became instrumental in the organization's transformation after Zhentil Keep's destruction. He provided magical power and forbidden knowledge while reshaping the Zentarum into a mercenary force. The relationship exemplified Zentarum pragmatism about allies. They cared nothing for the Paragost's undead nature, only whether he served their purposes. Among modern leaders in Waterdeep, Istrid Horn stands out. A dwarf merchant who worships Vergadane, Horn controls much of the Zentarum's legitimate business operations in the city. She's built a trading empire that generates substantial profits while serving as cover for less legal activities. Horn argues that the organization's future lies in economic power rather than crude intimidation, a position that has proven increasingly influential. The various Manshoun clones continue to cause problems, though none currently claim leadership of the broader organization. At least 2 confirmed Manshoons remain active as of the 1490s DR, each pursuing their own agendas. One operates from Waterdeep's Undermountain, leading a splinter faction loyal to his vision. Whether they'll attempt to reclaim control remains unclear, but their existence ensures that the name still carries weight and fear. The future of the Black Network. The Zentarum has survived for over 2 centuries, outlasting countless rivals and weathering multiple catastrophes. They emerge from each crisis transformed but unbroken. This resilience suggests the organization will continue thriving. Current trends point towards increased legitimacy in business operations while maintaining criminal activities as a parallel revenue stream. The days of the Zentarum as an openly evil organization seem to be ending, replaced by a more sophisticated model where they operate in moral gray areas. They'll employ heroes to fight monsters while simultaneously running protection rackets. They'll provide legitimate loans while also laundering money. This evolution creates both opportunities and challenges. Operating in gray areas allows for greater expansion and less opposition from authorities. It also dilutes the organization's identity and creates internal tensions between old guard members who miss the days of open villainy and reformers who argue for a more subtle approach. These tensions could eventually split the organization again, though currently leadership maintains unity through shared profit motives. The organization's greatest strength remains their network itself. Other groups rely on charismatic leaders or singular advantages. The Zentarum built something more durable, a system that functions regardless of leadership, spreads risk across multiple operations, and absorbs losses without collapsing. This systemic resilience is what has allowed them to survive when flashier villains burned out. For adventurers and other factions, the Zentarum present an ongoing challenge. Direct assault won't work and they won't negotiate in good faith, but they'll exploit any weakness without remorse. Yet they also aren't mindlessly destructive. They want profitable trade routes, stable governments they can corrupt, cities safe enough for business. The Zentarum endure because they understand everyone has a price. Find that price and you own them. The organization specializes in discovering what people want most desperately and offering it in exchange for loyalty, service, or information. Few have the strength to refuse when offered exactly what they need. That's the real genius of the modern Zentarum, conquering through necessity rather than force, making themselves indispensable until people overlook their crimes. They're not trying to rule the world anymore. Just own it, one soul at a time.